this specific instinct, this frantic need for speed and for dramatic reinvention, is actually the exact thing that's preventing us from changing at all.
We call this the intensity trap.
Mm.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
We are culturally obsessed with the spectacle of change. The before and after photo that gets thousands of likes, but we have completely lost touch with the actual mechanism of change.
We want the result, but we despise the process.
We really do.
So today, we are doing something a little different. We aren't talking about productivity hacks. We're not talking about how to squeeze more hours out of the day. And we're certainly not talking about how to crush it by next week.
No.
We are exploring a concept we're calling the inner shift.
And just to be really clear here, this isn't about doing more. I mean, if you are listening to this right now and you feel burned out or you feel like you're constantly failing your own expectations, I want you to know that this conversation isn't another item for your to-do list.
Not at all.
This is about relief. It's about shifting from this external performance, trying to impress the world, to building an internal foundation that can actually support you.
And we're going to dissect two concepts that I think usually make people cringe: discipline and consistency. But we're going to strip away that whole boot camp mentality and really look at the psychology and even the biology behind them.
The mission here, really, is to understand that, and most importantly, it is entirely within reach for everyone listening.
So let's unpack this. The first hurdle we have to clear is, well, it's the vocabulary itself. The source material leads with this idea of the architecture of unstoppable growth, which sounds grand and exciting, but then it drops a word that usually makes me want to run and hide.
Discipline.
It's such a loaded word, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, be honest, when you hear the word discipline, what is the first image that pops into your head?
Oh, a drill sergeant screaming in my face. Immediately. Or maybe a really strict teacher with a ruler. It just implies punishment.
Yes,
It
punishment.
implies that your natural state is somehow bad or lazy. And discipline is the cage you have to build around yourself to keep your bad self in check. It's all about restriction.
Exactly. It feels like a war against your own desires. I want the cookie, but discipline says no cookie. I want to sleep in, discipline says get up. It's inherently adversarial. It literally pits you against yourself.
And that is what this source calls the vocabulary trap. We've all been conditioned to view discipline as a form of, punishment or deprivation. But the material we're reviewing today, it makes this fascinating pivot. It argues that we've fundamentally mistranslated the word.
How so?
Discipline isn't punishment. Discipline is alignment. Alignment. Okay, that sounds a lot nicer, but I want to dig into that. What does that actually mean in practice? Because it sounds a little bit like corporate speak,
Fair enough. Think of it this way. Punishment is about the past. It's penance for being lazy or for making a mistake yesterday.
Yeah.
Alignment is about the future. It's about acting in accordance with the person you claim you want to be.
Okay.
So if you say, I am an athlete or I am a writer, then going for a run or writing a single page isn't a punishment for what you did yesterday. It's just, it's what an athlete or a writer does. It's the physical manifestation of your values.
So if I say I value my health, choosing to move my body isn't a punishment for eating pizza last night. It's just me aligning my actions with that value.
Precisely.
It moves the motivation from, I have to do this or I'm a failure, to, I'm doing this because this is who I am.
And this is such a critical distinction because of how our brains work. I mean, if discipline feels like punishment, you will naturally resist it. Nobody wants to be punished. Your subconscious will find a million ways to sabotage the effort.
But if it feels like alignment,
If it feels like self-respect, then it stops being a war. It becomes a partnership with yourself.
there was a quote in the notes from John C. Maxwell, who is, obviously a giant in the leadership space. He said, "Small disciplines repeated with consistency every day lead to great achievements gained slowly over time."
It's a classic for a reason. But I want to zoom in on the last part of that sentence, the part that, nobody likes to talk about.
Gain slowly.
Gain slowly. In a world of get rich quick and six-pack abs in 6 minutes and viral fame overnight, slow feels like an insult.
It feels like failure.
Right. If it's not happening fast, we just assume it's not working.
We treat slowness as if it's a bug in the system, but Maxwell is saying it's actually a feature.
It is the feature. The source material is giving us permission to embrace the slow. It removes the artificial deadline. It says you don't have to be there by tomorrow. It validates the pace of, biological reality versus the frantic pace of our anxiety. Real growth, the kind that actually lasts, is almost always slow.
The source also talks about the mechanism behind this. It says discipline relies on choice, which is reinforced over time, not on inspiration or ideal conditions. And this is where it gets really interesting to me. The distinction between acting on your mood versus acting on choice.
This is the absolute crux of the inner shift.
Yeah.
Most of us, we navigate our lives based on weather.
Weather. What do you mean?
Emotional weather, I don't feel like it today, it's raining, I'm tired, I'm just not inspired.
Mm-hmm.
Our moods are so volatile, they change like the wind.
Right.
And if you only build your life when the emotional weather is, sunny and 75 degrees,
Yeah.
you're going to build a shack, not a skyscraper.
Yeah.
You'll never get the roof on because it just rains too often.
Wow, that really hits home. So discipline is the ability to work in the rain.
It's the ability to disconnect the action from the feeling. And that right there is a superpower. You can feel tired and still go to the gym. You can feel uninspired and still write that one page.
So the feeling and the action don't have to match.
Not at all. You can bring the feeling along for the ride, kicking and screaming in the back seat if it has to, but the action happens regardless.
This leads to what the source calls the invisible moments. I found this concept so compelling. We tend to think transformation happens on the stage, when we get the diploma, when we sell the company, when we cross the finish line.
The movie montage moment.
Yeah.
The big climax.
Right. But the source argues that the transformation actually happens in the dark. It happens in the void.
It happens when it's 5:00 a.m., the alarm goes off, it's cold outside, your bed is warm, and you are totally alone. No one is watching.
No one would know.
Literally no one would know if you hit snooze. You wouldn't lose your job. You wouldn't lose a friend. The only thing that would happen is a tiny, silent breach of contract with yourself.
And the inner shift is making the decision to get up in that specific moment.
Yes, because that decision isn't really about the workout. It's about the character required to do the workout. Public wins, they build your reputation, but invisible choices, they build your character.
And that character is what sustains you when the applause stops or when things inevitably get hard.
It's almost like you're building a relationship with yourself. I mean, if you had a friend who only showed up when other people were watching, but flaked on you every single time it was just the two of you, you wouldn't trust that friend.
Not for a second.
Exactly. You are always casting a vote for the type of person you want to be. And every time you choose the hard thing in that invisible moment, you cast a vote for, I am a reliable person. And if you cast enough of those votes, eventually, you win the election. You become that person.
Okay, but let's play devil's advocate here for a second, because slow and steady sounds nice, and invisible moments sound really noble, but we live in a competitive world. I mean, sometimes you do have to sprint, right? The source talks about the trap of intensity, but isn't intensity necessary sometimes?
Oh, absolutely. Intensity has its place. If a lion is chasing you, yes, please be intense. If you have a firm deadline for a project launch next week, a burst of intensity is totally appropriate.
So what's the problem?
The problem isn't intensity itself. The problem is making intensity your primary operating system.
Ah, okay. We treat the sprint like it's a marathon strategy. We think we can sprint forever.
And that is just biologically impossible. We're addicted to the cortisol hit of intensity. The source explicitly says, too often people chase intensity because it feels like progress. It's visceral.
Right.
If you sweat until you throw up, or work until your eyes blur, or starve yourself for 3 days, you feel like a hero. You have a story to tell. Oh, I worked 14 hours today. I went so hard.
It feeds the ego. It validates that we are trying really hard.
But the biology doesn't lie. High intensity is unsustainable by design. It depletes all your resources. I mean, if you redline your car's engine every time you drive to the grocery store, you're going to blow a gasket. It's inevitable.
And that's the burnout cycle.
That's the one. We sprint, we crash, we feel shame because we crashed, we recover for a bit, and then we try to sprint even harder to make up for lost time. It's this jagged, painful graph.
Up, down, up, down. Whereas the inner shift is aiming for a smooth, gradual, upward trajectory. The text used a visual metaphor here that I absolutely loved. The tree.
The tree is the perfect antidote to the whole Instagram success narrative. Just think about a massive, ancient oak tree. Before a single green shoot ever breaks the surface of the soil, that little seed is doing aggressive, crucial work underground.
It's building a root system.
It's pushing through dirt, it's seeking water, it's anchoring itself against future storms. Now, if you were standing above that patch of dirt, looking down, what would you see?
Absolutely nothing, just dirt.
And you'd say, nothing is happening. This is a waste of my time. I should dig this thing up and plant something else.
And that's exactly what we do with our habits. We diet for 3 days, we step on the scale, we see no change, and we say, see, this doesn't work.
We write for a week, get no readers, and we stop.
We quit during the root phase.
We quit during the root phase. We demand the foliage before we've even established the root. The inner shift requires this specific kind of faith. Let's call it temporal patience. You have to trust that growth is happening even when the visual evidence hasn't arrived yet.
You have to trust the roots are spreading in the dark. This connects directly to the concept of compounding, which is such a powerful financial concept, but we so rarely apply it to our own behaviors. We think linearly, 1 + 1 = 2. But compounding, that's exponential.
The source gives these beautiful examples of the power of small. 1 page a day. I mean, it feels insignificant. It takes maybe 15 minutes. You might think, why even bother?
But do that for a year.
You have a 365-page manuscript. You have written a book.
10 minutes of movement.
Again, in 1 day. It feels like nothing. You're probably still stiff. You're still out of breath. But 10 minutes every single day for a year. You've completely remodeled your fascia, your mobility, your cardiovascular health, and likely reduced your cortisol baseline.
It really is about debunking the myth that big equals better. Big is flashy, small is powerful. But this is where the research took a turn that I honestly wasn't expecting. We usually talk about discipline as a mindset thing, willpower, grit, mental toughness, but the text pivots to the nervous system.
This is such a profound insight. The source suggests that consistency builds a very specific type of confidence that is actually rooted in the body. It's the physiology of trust.
Okay, so let's break that down. How does doing a small habit every day affect my nerves?
Well, think about what anxiety often is. At a physiological level, it's a state of hypervigilance.
Yeah.
It's your brain saying, I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know if I'm safe. It's a fundamental lack of predictability.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Now, think about what happens when you are chronically inconsistent. You tell yourself, I'm going to get up early, and you don't. You say, I'm going to finish this report, and you procrastinate.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat healthy, and you binge. You are constantly breaking your word to yourself.
So I become an unreliable witness to my own life.
It's worse than that. You become an unsafe actor to your own nervous system. Your brain actually starts to predict your failure. It learns, I cannot trust what this person says. And that creates a background hum of anxiety because it knows it can't count on you to navigate the world.
You are essentially gaslighting yourself.
You really are.
Wow. That puts the Sunday scaries or that background dread in a whole new light. Part of that is just knowing I'm about to let myself down again this week.
It's the anticipation of inconsistency. But the reverse is also true. When you implement the inner shift, when you do the small thing consistently, regardless of your mood, you are sending a signal of safety to your vagus nerve. You are teaching your body, I am reliable. When I say I will do X, X happens. I finish what I start.
It quiets the noise.
It creates what the Force calls grounded inner knowing. It's a confidence that doesn't need to shout from the rooftops. It's not the loud arrogance of I am the best. It's the quiet calm of I'm handled.
I'm handled. I love that. The Source calls this the quiet force.
Yes. Discipline builds the momentum. Consistency is what keeps it moving. And when you have both, you have a force that is significantly more powerful than talent. We all know talented people who are erratic and ultimately unsuccessful.
And we know people with average talent who are just unstoppable.
Simply because they are relentless. They just keep coming.
Okay, so we've established the philosophy. We know why we need to do this, for safety, for compounding, for alignment. But the big question is how? Because even with all this understanding, when that alarm goes off, it's still hard.
It is hard.
Yeah.
And that's why the Source moves into the architecture of success. These are the tactical approaches. And the first one is so counterintuitive, especially for high achievers. Lower the barrier to entry.
Lower the bar.
Lower it. Lower it until you can step over it without any effort. Lower it till it feels ridiculous.
We talked about the micro win.
A micro win done daily is worth so much more than a grand gesture you quit after a week. But here is the challenge. The ego. The ego hates small things.
Oh, it does.
The ego wants to say, I'm going to meditate for 45 minutes a day like a monk. If you say, I'm going to meditate for 60 seconds, the ego just sneers. It says, that's pointless. That's for weak people.
It feels embarrassing to set a goal that's small. It doesn't feel like success.
But the goal isn't the meditation. The goal is the start. The friction is always highest at the beginning, what they call activation energy. If you can lower the activation energy required to start, you are infinitely more likely to actually do it.
So you're basically tricking your brain. The goal isn't go for a run. The goal is just put on my running shoes. That's it.
Exactly. Because once the shoes are on, you might as well walk out the door.
Okay.
But if the goal is run 5 miles, the brain calculates the energy cost and says, no thanks, that's way too expensive.
Mm.
You have to be willing to silence the ego to allow the micro win. You have to be willing to be a beginner.
Okay, so silence the ego. What else? The source mentions environment design.
This is so crucial. Discipline isn't just about willpower. Willpower is a finite resource. Think of it like a battery on your phone. It drains throughout the day with every single decision you make. By 6:00 p.m., your battery is flat.
And if you have to decide to be good at that point, you will fail.
You will fail. So you make the decision beforehand. You offload the discipline to the room you're standing in.
You design the environment to make the good behavior the path of least resistance.
Yes. The source gives very specific practical examples. Lay out your workout clothes the night before. Delete the app that distracts you from your phone. Prep the healthy meal on Sunday.
It's the energy economy.
Exactly. Every decision creates cognitive load. Should I eat this? Should I scroll? Should I work out? If you burn all your energy on deciding to do the thing, you have no energy left to actually execute the thing. The goal is to make fewer decisions so you have more energy for execution. Make your space serve your success.
I love that idea of treating your future self like a toddler. Here are your clothes, here is your healthy snack, now go play.
It's actually a very compassionate thing to do. You are parenting yourself.
Yep.
You're removing the obstacles so your future self can succeed without having to be a superhero every single day.
Okay, but let's be real for a minute. Even with the best environment, the best intentions, the smallest goals, life happens. We get sick, we get sad, we get busy, the kids get the flu, we miss a day.
You will miss a day.
Yeah.
The source is very clear on this. It's a statistical certainty. It is going to happen.
And usually this is the death knell, the what the hell effect. I ate one cookie, so I ruined my diet, so what the hell, I'll just eat the whole box.
I missed one workout, so I guess I'm not a runner anymore. Back to the couch.
That spiral is caused by perfectionism. We call it the perfection trap. We view a habit streak like a delicate glass vase. If we drop it once, it shatters, and we think we have to sweep up all the pieces and go buy a brand new one.
When really the source suggests we need to switch from perfection to resilience.
And what does that mean exactly?
Resilience is just the speed of your recovery. That's it. It's not about never falling. It's about how fast you stand back up.
This brings us to the never miss twice rule. I think this might be the most practical tool in the entire discussion.
It's the golden rule of consistency. It acknowledges reality. It says, okay, you missed a workout, you're human, it was an accident. But if you missed the second one, now you are actively voting for a new identity.
Missing once is an outlier. Missing twice is the start of a new pattern.
A negative pattern, exactly. So the energy shouldn't go into beating yourself up about the first miss. That's just wasted energy. Guilt is not a fuel source, it's a brake. All of your energy should go entirely into the restart. I missed yesterday, so today is non-negotiable.
This is where that compassionate tone is so important, because if you drown in shame because you missed one day, you are actually more likely to miss the second time because you feel terrible and you just want to hide.
Shame is a paralyzing emotion. It does not fuel growth, it fuels hiding. So be gentle with that first miss. Just say, okay, that happened, and then be firm about the recovery. That is what prevents the spiral.
It's about shortening the lag time between the slip-up and the restart.
Exactly. The inner shift isn't about being some robot who never fails. It's about being a resilient human who refuses to stay down.
So let's zoom out for a minute. If we do all this, we reframe discipline as alignment, we embrace the slow growth, we build self-trust through our physiology, we design our environment, and we bounce back quickly when we stumble. What happens? What's the ultimate transformation?
And that brings us to the final section of the source material, which is the shift in identity. Because the ultimate goal isn't just to check boxes on a habit tracker. The goal is that the behavior stops being something you do and it becomes who you are.
The shift from effort to embodiment.
Yes. In the beginning, it takes effort. You have to remind yourself, you have to push yourself a little, set the alarms. It's that white-knuckle discipline. But eventually you reach what the source calls the no-debate phase.
The no-debate phase. I want to live there.
It's a very peaceful place to live.
Yeah.
It's where you no longer wake up and ask, do I feel like running today?
Yeah.
You just put on your shoes. It's automatic. It's like brushing your teeth.
That's a great analogy. I never debate brushing my teeth. I don't need a motivational speech or a vision board to brush my teeth. I just do it.
Why? Because you're a person with teeth. It's just what you do. That is embodiment. You don't need willpower anymore because there's no friction. The rhythm itself sustains the growth. You aren't grinding anymore. You're flowing.
And the source has this beautiful reflection on the past self here. It notes that one day, the version of you that doubted everything will be replaced by the one who never even questions if they'll keep going.
It reminds me of that philosophical concept, the ship of Theseus. If you replace every single plank of wood in a ship over time, is it still the same ship?
You replace every plank of the self.
Exactly. You replace the plank of inconsistency with reliability. You replace shame with resilience. And you won't even realize it's happening until you look back one day. You'll just realize, oh, I haven't missed a day in 6 months, and it wasn't even hard. That is the inner shift.
So as we wrap this up, I want to just summarize this feeling. We started with the anxiety of the scroll, the need for speed, the pressure to perform, and we're ending with the permission to go slow.
It's a shift from faith in the results to faith in the process. You have to trust that the invisible work matters. You have to trust those roots underground.
It's not about leaping, it's about walking.
Not perfection, but persistence.
And I think it's important to acknowledge that this is hard. We aren't saying this is easy. We're just saying it's sustainable.
It's the only thing that actually works in the long run. We didn't get here by luck. We got here by commitment. And you are capable of that commitment.
Yeah.
Not the loud, flashy kind, the quiet kind.
And I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on. We've talked a lot about the external results, the books written, the health gained, but I want you to consider the internal result for a moment.
Yes.
If you stopped looking for the external explosion of success, the applause, the likes, the big reveal, and you focused entirely on the internal reliability of your own word. If your only goal was to be a person who simply does what they say they will do, how much quieter would your life become?
And how much stronger?
Exactly, how much stronger. Thank you for listening to this conversation on the inner shift. Go easy on yourself, start small, and trust the process.
Be the quiet force.
We'll see you next time.